Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of FitzRupee Cast featuring Dawn of War 2 Retribution. Red-Rupee here with you after a little over a week now. I had the entire last week off of work and I was just lazy and non-productive, didn't do anything useful. It was marvelous. I played a lot of my second love, TF2, all week long, and it was lots of fun. I'll put it out there, actually. Any of you guys that watch that play Dawn of War 2 and don't play TF2, if you have any spare hats to trade to add to my Red-Rupee stash, I've got a few Dawn of War 2 DLC I'd be willing to trade you for that, so TF2 hats for me. I'm just going to throw it out there. Anyways, in my absence, of course, keep in mind there's plenty of other casters. You got Waste My Life out there. Locklear started covering a lot of things. Look him up. I'll try to put some links in the description. Wargol, Guru, Skippy have been doing live streams. Vindicare. Lots of other people doing good casts. Lots of interesting stuff happening. There's also been the mid-range tournament over there at the ESL. I think the top players were still waiting on the final match to finish up. It's Boars Mistral and Gokul, if I said that correctly. And I think third and fourth place went to Arcazon and Super Paul in the semifinals. So congratulations to all four of those players, and hopefully we'll find out who the winner is, the grand champion of the mid-level tournament soon here. Anyways, with all that out of the way, you can see we're hanging out on Green Tooth Gorge today, and I've got a pretty fun game. We've got NareYa over here as our colorful war boss. Lots of blue, yellow, and pink over there. And then on the other side of the map, we've got our Joker-themed purple and green Farseer Eldar. So let's go ahead, get this game on the road. It's been a while, and I'm ready to start casting some more games here. So anyways, Farseer versus Warboss. We've got, they're both very support-oriented heroes. Of course, the Warboss more with his globals than most of his war gear. But the Farseer, of course, having all her various support spells and things like that onto the field. We can see pretty standard cap orders coming up. Nebukatnezzar going straight in for the VPs here early on. Of course, Eldar loved that quick map control and putting pressure on the VPs earlier. Meanwhile, NareYa's going for power, prioritizing his power income right out of the gate. Want to get that quick tech, want to get some upgrades on the field, and hopefully a quick truck or weird boy, which is always lots of trouble for the other player. NareYa going with the double shooters. Nebukatnezzar sticking with the two guardians. Probably going to see probably a quick shuriken platform come onto the field with just the one generator. Yep, there it goes right there. And we can see Nebukatnezzar using those garrisons, gonna give the Warboss a runaround. That's still advantageous to be aggressive with your Warboss right here, though, because that does cut down on the map control. Instead of these Guardians and the Farseer capping, they both have to commit at least that much to try to take down a Warboss. So in the meantime, we can see all three of the other Orc squads are capping the map, which is working out very well. What's the plan? So it looks like Nebukatnezzar finally pulled off the chase, and the Farseer pops fleet of foot and charging headlong into that shooter squad just as they get upgraded with big shooters, so they're not going to be able to use aiming what's that in this first engagement, unfortunately, to keep that Farseer off of them. Looks like they are going to retreat to that garrison and return the favor that Nebukatnezzar pulled on the Warboss in the very beginning there. So Garrison's working out for both players so far. In the meantime, these Guardians look like they're about to get chased around by some Slugger Boys, and Nebukatnezzar actually not opting for that first Shuriken, but calling in some Rangers from the craft world right now. So Rangers obviously going to be great at doing a little bit of map and cap control and negating these Garrisons that we've been seeing both players using right here. Oh man, almost lost those Guardians up here to those Slugger Boys as Nebukatnezzar declares a quick oops. Not as much of a big oops as it could have been. It looks like another second later and he would have lost that whole squad. So a quick slip up there costing a couple extra units, but it looks like the Rangers are trying to make up for it. Already knocked off a couple members off of that Slugger Boy squad and caused them to retreat, and they'll be excellent at controlling the map. And looks like Nebukatnezzar is actually purchasing a second Ranger squad, which is interesting. We can see the Shooter Boys already getting their knob upgrade, which will sort of hopefully contain some of the bleed as it makes them a bit more durable, and will allow that knob to maybe take a Ranger shot or two when they're under fire. The only problem I can see with this current build, if Nebukatnezzar does not get himself a shuriken cannon, is that, of course, after those initial ranger shots, these shooter boys or sluggers can just charge right in and force those rangers off. And rangers are not cheap to reinforce at all. I believe 50 and 5, 50 rec 5 power for each of those. There go a couple more shooter models. Doing a good job of bleeding off here, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. After those initial shots, we can see the Orc squad just charging in right now, picking off one of those Rangers already in a hail of gunfire from those big shooters, and it looks like the second squad's going to get away without losing a model. But now these fully upgraded shooter boys just wreaking havoc on these Guardians. And the Warboss doing a good job of running around harassing in the meantime as well. So Guardians retreating into that garrison for some safety, but that Farseer is getting very low. Needs to be very cautious right here. Shooter boys might take her out. Very few HP left. 5, 4, 3. Oh, there she goes. And that is a Farseer down. So gotta always be careful. Those shooter boys do a surprising amount of retreat damage and shoot always a little bit further than you expect them to. So you always gotta head out a bit early when you're facing off against them. So that's a rough start for Nebukatnezzar. As we can see, the sluggers in the meantime have been capturing all of the map. And really, Nebukatnezar's just sitting on 2 points right now, which is not where you want to be for Eldar at all, especially after losing a hero early on. Those Rangers were been doing a good job of bleeding, and of course you didn't have to reinforce that model. Of course, with snipers, all you really need is a model or two to keep them on the field and keep them effective. So unfortunately, they got to be very careful. These sluggers approaching at a bit of a weird angle. Tried to back up, pull a shot off, drops 2 models, knocks them back, and looks like he's going to be able to get out of there with the support of these Guardians right here. So good play by Nebukatnezzar, doing a good job of holding that now, despite losing his hero, which is now back on the field. And NareYa, however, is going tier 2, and that's kind of why, with the 2 Rangers, I guess Nebukatnezzar can't risk getting a Shuriken now, which I think would really be useful to try to stem the horde here, because he could put the Rangers up front and fall back to a Shuriken when the Orcs put the pressure on and really defend this power farm. But if he invested any more power at this point, especially after losing his hero and costing himself a good bit of wreck, so unable to drop any extra generators or anything like that, he runs that risk of getting overrun by a quick truck or having that Warboy control the map at the beginning of tier 2. So Nob's on both shooter boy squads right now, and he's choosing to go in and melee these Guardians, and that's always exactly what you want to do. If you ever have a chance to melee unsupported Guardians, you can do it, because they will just melt to anything in melee. Even shooter boys will beat Guardians in melee. Oh, that Warboss was trying to get behind that cover and negate those Ranger shots and keep the pressure on them so they don't move up to harass these shooter boys. And you can see right there, the Nob actually absorbed one of those shots, and they only lost 1 model right there to the 2 Ranger shots right there. But they are down to 2 models. They're going to have to be very careful right now. I'm not sure why he's staying in trying to... Oh no! Shooter squad goes down. That was with a Nob and big shooters. That's an expensive loss. And the Warboss looks like he's pushing his advantage way too hard right now as well. Oh, and he goes down! Wow! So what looked like pretty much, wow, a one-sided game for NareYa is quickly changing in Nebukatnezzar's favor. We just lost a Warboss and an upgraded shooter boy squad for NareYa, so that's looking pretty rough suddenly. You can see the VPs were heavily in NareYa's favor right here. You know, NareYa was pretty much untouched and had Nebukatnezzar down to half his VPs. But unfortunately now, gonna lose a lot of map control with these slugger boys moving in. And here comes the truck, forcing everything off the map. Don't want to mess with sluggers when there's a truck around, and it's actually a really good intimidation move too, because despite this truck being empty right now, NareYa knows it's empty, but Nebukatnezzar cannot risk that truck being full of shooter boys or something worse. So you can just drive this truck around and be nasty with it, and really just kind of control the map right now. So NareYa's doing a good job of keeping his map. He could have lost a lot more right there as far as map control had this truck not popped And Nebukatnezzar really doesn't have an answer for it right now. Oh, we can see the Singing Spear getting upgraded right now, and with Warp Spiders on the field, a Haywire Grenade and a couple swings from that Singing Spear will make short work of an Orc Truck. So lots of shooter boys going down to all those ranger shots and everything else. Oh, a nice point-blank kinetic shot, knocking those slugger boys back, protecting those guardians and rangers from some serious retreat damage. In the meantime, we see the Warp Spiders getting that aspect of the Warp Spider upgrade, and now that he sees those, he needs to get that truck out of there. He has to know that that truck is in danger, especially now that he's spotted that Singing Spear, and it looks like that truck is going to escape. Oh, I spoke too soon. The Warp Spiders warp in, drop a Haywire Grenade, and here she comes, swinging away. It looks like Use Your Choppers was activated, but the truck goes down. We can see the Farseer just hanging out right in the middle of all these sluggers. You saw her silhouette kind of epically in the explosion of that truck right there, and grabbing an extra kill or two right there before she decides to fall back. So NareYa just down to 2 squads, does have his Weird Boy right now. And but Nebukatnezzar has a lot more on the field, and wow, these Guardians taking a lot of fire from these shooters. I don't know why they don't have battle equipment yet. You really need those energy shields to deal with big shooters, even with 1 squad. We can see how fast that squad got obliterated. Lost 3 bottles right there. Oh no, a shot from the Weird Boy turning a couple Guardians into bits right there. And but it looks like Nebukatnezzar's finally managed to start taking some more VPs away from NareYa right here. We can see the Farseer has been upgraded with her Armor of Fortune and getting fully decked out with a Ghost Helm to complete her set right here. So adding a little tanky damage right there. Of course, the Armor of Fortune giving her regen and the Fortune ability, and that Ghost Helm is excellent for picking off sluggers and weird boys, heroes, just about any valuable single unit entity. That Ghost Helm is very useful for. Oh man, we might actually see the Weird Boy go down here. Yes, he's out of control with a Mind War and a couple swings of that Singing Spear there at the end. But in the meantime, it looks like Slugger Boys got the jump on some Rangers, and they might actually take it out if they can get one more swing off on it. But they do change targets right as they were starting to get swings. The War Boss goes down on the other side of the map, though. And that's another brutal loss for NareYa. That is two nasty engagements right there in a row. He lost his War Boss twice now, lost himself a squad of shooters, and now lost the Weird Boy that he had just purchased. To the Singing Spear and Mind War of that Farseer. So that Farseer being very nasty now, decked out with all her equipment. Stormboy's coming onto the field, now coming in at the last second, getting a quick jump in there after the fact. Oh, and we're seeing Mind War go down on that Stormboy knob as well. Oh, and there he goes, another expensive loss. That Farseer is really just putting the hurt on NareYa right now. Really making NareYa feel bad about his green happy little orcs right now. So we can see Guardians upgraded with Warlocks. Still no battle equipment, which is curious. I swear I've seen people use that less and less, just always kind of delaying that battle equipment until the last possible second. These Rangers getting very close to these shooters though, and gonna take a bit of abuse right here. Unfortunately, looks like both of those models are going to survive. And these shooter boys finding themselves in a bit of a nasty spot. Warp Spiders spinning death right into all of them. And oh man, oh wow, Mind War takes out the shooter boy knob and the entire squad. Of course, that is the drawback of shared leader mechanics, is that if that leader gets targeted with a heavy damage ability, it is just going to pulse and take out a lot of nasty stuff. These Guardians in a lot of trouble retreating through sluggers. Some excellent placement by NareYa. And oh wow, a perfect defensive kinetic shot from Nebukatnezzar protecting that last Guardian model. Actually just a Warlock, I think. Oh no, it is a Guardian running around at this point. So very fortunate right there. In the meantime, Farseer goes down to Stormboys, while User Chapas was activated down there, and Guardians again having to retreat through some sluggers. Looks like they only lost a single model, so not too bad, but NareYa is just bringing the hurt with nothing but 2 squads on the field right now, and of course, if nothing else, you can see that making a huge difference in wreck income right now. He's getting over about 120 rec per minute more than Nebukatnezzar, so if he can just hold the map on a little bit longer and use that rec income to his advantage, he can bring some big, nasty tier 3 stuff onto the field for the orcs. But, oh man, but as I'm saying that, of course, he has to try to restrain this bleed as much as possible. Oh no, the Stormboy Nob goes down again to a ranger shot on retreat. Those Warp Spires, of course, causing some serious damage as well. Warp Spires being very difficult for NareYa to deal with right now because all he has is 2 melee squads and a melee hero, so they are just warping around and causing some trouble. In the meantime, these Slugger Boys have been upgraded to level 3, or not upgraded, but gained enough experience to hit level 3. Can't purchase veterancy in this game, of course. So they're going to be nastier and nastier as time goes on. Really, level 3 Slug is not something you want to mess around with. So, despite NareYa only having these couple squads, Nebukatnezzar's still pretty much been on the defense here, trying to desperately to capture some DPs back throughout the game. Really hasn't had any time to put pressure on NareYa's power at all. Without Banshees, he's not had time to sneak around there and get any power bashes in or anything like that. So, we're going to have to see how this plays out. These Rangers have certainly been paying for themselves, both level 3 now as well. Warp Spider's level 2, and Warboss still sitting on as a vanilla Warboss, no fancy war gear for him. And alright, now we're seeing some knobs come onto the field. The VPs are about even up now. Nebukatnezzar's just managed to keep it even throughout this, brought back from that harsh disadvantage. Oh, we're seeing Mind War once again take out that Slugga Nob. Unfortunately, being level 3, he did survive it and managed to cool out of there. Mind War being extremely effective. Took out a Weird Boy, a Shooter Squad, and at least 2 knobs so far. So that Ghost Helm is certainly paying for itself in spades. Again, we're seeing lots of Storm Boys get killed here. That's really been a drain on NareYa's economy. Luckily, as I mentioned, keeping such a small army and really maintaining most of the rec points until just now in this past engagement or so has kept him really able to keep his army up, and obviously now he has some big bad knobs coming onto the field to bring the hurt. Nebukatnezzar heading into tier 3 in the meantime and going for the triple cap right now. 200 to 229 in Nebukatnezzar's favor. Knobs getting upgraded with some hammers. Of course, those Rangers a bit too far forward, not able to deal with those knobs at all. Don't want to mess around with that. But now they're activating their frenzy and charging in after those Warp Spiders. I feel like you'd probably want to just go after those Guardians. But if nothing else, that forces the Warp Spiders back. In the meantime, Warball's beating up on some Guardians down here. I don't know. Oh, there he goes. He finally retreats. Lost quite a few models, though. But with that triple cap, it's working out for him. He's just trying to stall and keep that map control for a while he brings something out to deal with these knobs. So those Rangers actually doing some pretty significant damage. You can see NareYa's purchasing himself a knob leader, and those are so expensive that you rarely actually want to buy that knob leader. He is just costs 35 power and 150 rec if I remember correctly. Just very expensive, but this is one of the few times you'd want to buy him, is you just want that extra on the field time. That bought the knobs a little more time, bash some power, and you may think it wasn't worth bashing the power at this point because Nebukatnezzar's already got a pretty reasonable pile, and that cost him several knobs. But actually what he was doing there, if nothing else, was stalling this entire Eldar force while he got back that map control and got the triple cap in his favor once again. So going to be able to turn this VP disadvantage right back around after being down to about 100 VPs. Gonna bring that advantage right back into his favor if he can kind of stay out on the map here a little bit more. So these melee squads that this Warboss has under his control just been harassing these Eldar endlessly without Shuriken Cannons or Banshees to kind of make NareYa think twice about sending these melee squads in. They've really just been kind of running amok and having their choice of engagements and running the map here. So again, we're seeing Oh, Mind War on that War Boss. Looks like he is going to get away. Just barely, though. Another tick or two of that Mind War. That would have been the end of him. And Nob's charging back onto the field. Fully upgraded. Meaner and greener. U-jammers and a Nob leader for them. Oh, and we can see there's the situation I was looking for. Is just a Warlock left in a Guardian squad. No Guardians actually in this Guardian squad. Anyways, Slug is capping the map as always. They've just been running around and capping everything all over the place. Meanwhile, Sniper's trying to get a few more shots off. They want to get to level 4. They're almost there. Level 4 Rangers definitely useful against Nobs. NareYa's sitting on a pretty huge pile of resource right now. I'm not sure if he's planning for more Nobs or maybe a battle wagon or a tank. Rangers looked like they tried to find some cover inside of that garrison, but Slug is with Flamers. Partially rejected to that theory. And in the meantime, this Warlock trying to get out of there. That's the last member of those Guardians, but he does retreat once again, saving that squad, preserving it a little bit longer. So the VPs are once again evened up, down to 100 or so for each side. Warp Spiders still jumping around, causing all kinds of bleed on these Storm Boys. These Warp Spiders have been the bane of the Storm Boys since they've come out onto the field. In the meantime, we can see Nobs once again just stalling this entire Eldar force. Nebukatnezzar really has to commit a lot to these Nobs to try to lower them down. But of course, he does have an Avatar coming out here. Rangers just barely escaping, very luckily right there. A couple very wounded squads right there for Nebukatnezzar. But as I've been saying, it's working out very well. Even if it costs him a few Nobs at this point, he's managed to maintain a triple cap on the field while those Nobs are keeping that Eldar locked pretty much in his base. In the meantime, this Avatar is probably going to make a pretty big difference here. We can see a second squad of Nobs coming out for NareYa. But this Avatar looks like it's going to be causing some hurt. There goes a Wailing Doom, not quite hitting its targets. Managed to snag the Nob leader right there. You can tell because of his fancy little helmet right there. And those Nobs need to retreat right now. You don't want to have to reinforce that Nob leader if you can't help it. But it looks like he's going all in right here. Oh, and here comes the Call the Boys. Look at all those orcs on the field now. That Avatar has got to be feeling pretty stranded as it is. There's just a pile of nasty melee just charging in against this thing. Slug is heading over to deal with the Warp Spiders. Nobs, Storm Boys, and Warboss attacking that Avatar. And unfortunately, those Shooter Boys with that Nobs are actually quick enough to keep up with those Warp Spiders and scare them out of the battle. In the meantime, the Warboss is finally upgraded to his Power Claw and grabs himself a nice little Ranger right there, and the Nobs finish off the last member of that squad. So one of those Rangers is finally down. And you can see Use Your Choppers activated on these Nobs, taking out this Avatar. If this Avatar goes down, it's 31 to 87. In the meantime, Nebukatnezzar's been capturing map frantically. The Avatar does go down to all that melee. 2 squads of Nobs and some Storm Boys and a Warboss running all over the place. Seer Council on the field for Nebukatnezzar. Nebukatnezzar just lost so much in that last battle, though. He lost one of his Guardians, one of his Rangers. Oh, it looks like we're going to have an Eldar Storm coming down right in the middle on this center VP, and the Nobs retreat. They're getting knocked all over the place. Managed to survive, though, with 2 members right there. And I don't think, I'm not sure if Nobs will actually beat the Seer Council. Oh, certainly not with Rangers firing on them. We can see Use Your Choppers being activated already. I don't know if these Seers are going to stay around and try to deal with that or not. They are going to retreat back into the building. And it is 41 to 31 right now. I'm really not sure who's going to take this right now. It's a triple cap against NareYa, so it's really anyone's game still. Looks like we have a grenade going down on the Sluggers. They do manage to evade it. Over here we've got the Seer Council still facing off against the Nobs. The Nobs are just taking the abuse and trying to capture that point in the middle. We've got Storm Boys on the Farseer. Looks like the Sluggers won this engagement. Actually, the Guardians just fell back a little bit. They didn't retreat. Really, there's just 3 critical engagements going on either side. Altark on the field now over here. Storm Boys in the middle with Odd Boys activated on top of them. Nob's coming back out. I'm not sure where the Warboss. Warboss looks like he's heading into the center point right there. Seer Council moving into center with the Farseer. And it looks like the Guardians managed to pour enough fire into those Slugger Boys to push them off the point. It's 10-27. And it's really just going to come down to these last couple caps right now. Oh no, the Farseer looks like she's going to be able to take out those Storm Boys. Although the Seer Council's taken a lot of beating from these Nobs. Now with User Choppers once again on them. 7-6. Oh, the Warboss gets the decap once again. And down to 5-27. It looks like the Guardians are getting a cap over here. Oh, but the Warboss gets knocked off the point by the Autarch. Meanwhile, Nob's heading back into center to deal with this center point. Warboss does have to fall back. He's not going to get the cap. Oh, and the Guardians finally get it. And, oh man, those Nobs should have stayed on the point and ignored that Farseer. Wow, that was quite a game. Going ultimately to Nebukatnezzar at a 0-27 finish. Very close, actually coming down to the wire right there. NareYa doing an excellent job after losing quite a few squads there early on. And that Farseer doing some nasty maneuvers with that Ghost Hound in the end, causing lots of hurt for NareYa. But NareYa did a great job in the mid-game and just couldn't quite pull it out at the end there. Just a few squads too short, with double Nobs making short work of an Avatar. And ultimately couldn't keep the map in his favor. Anyways, what a game. Saw lots of crazy melee brawling happen there from that Warboss. Love seeing the big orky melee. That's exactly what I think of when I think of orcs, is that kind of play. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. This was Red-Rupee. Glad to be back. I will catch you guys next time.